You know, we need them to understand that history is not just dates and places and things that happened there. It's people. You know, it's amazing the stories about the people that were there.
It gives the kids that come to see us a better idea of the fact that these were real people, their own age, experiencing these events that we're trying to tell stories about.
I firmly believe that if you don't preserve the past, you can't understand the present, and you're blind going into the future. And in a lot of ways, we make history and bring it alive.
To me, it's important to remember our history, to know the history of this country.
Reenacting is a wide community all across the country. You know, not all interpretation happens to look like costumed interpretation, which is what I'm doing today. You have interpreters who will go out and perform period trades, like my friend over here who's blacksmithing. He's doing interpretation by demonstrating a historic trade.
The benefit of teaching history this way is it gives the students a first-hand look at some of the uniforms, the equipment, some of the stories that have passed down from generation to generation. It's a hands-on experience for some of them, especially with the cannons. We often get some of the kids to come and fire the cannon or be the powder monkeys, which is to advance the powder round to the cannon.
The reenacting is actually going out and reenacting some of the battles. We do give demonstrations, but we don't give all the carnage demonstrations like an actual reenacting battle would give.
Any of us who are here doing living history presentations have quite a kit to carry. You can imagine what the artillery guys have to haul, right? And I'm carrying camels, so I've got a pickup truck and a trailer, and at minimum I've got to have my camels in there. I've got to bring my camp set up, which for us means white canvas, tent poles, wooden barrels to illustrate what the camels were doing as they were hauling water. So yeah, it's a bit like a traveling circus. It's a bit like a gypsy life.
All the stuff here, we own all of this, and it's mostly all reproductions. This one here, we get the most comments on it. This pistol is a Lamat. This is a 10 shot, as opposed to most of these others being 6 shots. It's had 9 44 caliber and 1 20 gauge shotgun.
It starts out as a hobby, but then becomes an obsession. When I finally was able to get into Old West reenacting, which was in 1991, I picked up the character of Bat Masterson because of the thought of it being my family. No, I am not Bat Masterson. No, I do not believe in reincarnation. But I've been studying him for over 20 some odd years, so I'm probably one of the better people that know about him.
The brave would go out and make a flute if he was interested in a young lady, and he would play the flute to get her attention so that they could become serious with each other, I guess.
They walked all the way down to Texas, San Juan, Texas, but it's on this side of the border, and they stayed there for a month. After a while comes the father. He sees the children. He says, "I thought they killed you." And so then he told the children, "Never speak Apache. Don't tell people you're Apache." And since they were so close to Mexico, they knew Spanish. From then on, they had to be Mexican. And because she was so brave, I am here.
My family has a rich history here. They were some of the first settlers here in this area. It is a Civil War era sutlery. We have a few dresses and blouses and skirts, and they're historically accurate to the 1860s.
I think of myself as being a living descendant of the Seminole Scouts. My great-grandfather and great-great-grandfather were amongst the Scouts that served here. They were probably the only unit of that type in history of the military. And they were based here out of Fort Clark. They served here from 1870 to 1914.
So this is referred to as the 3 volleys. We call it syncing up to make sure, if you guys heard, that it sounded like we were shooting multiple shots together. Did it sound like popcorn? You can be honest. Okay, it sounded like popcorn. So we gotta clean up our act, but our goal is to move in sync fire red up sequence and make them all sound like one shot.
Younger generation may be interested in history, but they're also a lot more interested in the pastimes of today.
Everybody's looking at their hand and not really looking around.
A lot of folks I started out with are out of the game now.
If we don't get the young people involved, we are essentially losing interest in our history.
We are trying our best to recruit younger ones because we are getting up in age, and if we don't recruit new people, the organization will die off and the history will be lost.
I believe we should definitely get more younger people involved in living history. That's the only way you're really going to bring history out to especially to children.
Do something like this where there's people that actually know what they're talking about, have studied it and researched it, it helps inspire them to do more.
For a lot of folks who come to these living history events, it's a hobby. But for me, from the beginning, it has been my business. When I left my job as a zookeeper, I knew I wanted to continue working with animals, but I loved history. So I created something that I thought people might be interested in.
I was always told if you do the thing you love, you never work a day again in your life. So, because I'm being paid to be out here and do this. So, you know, don't be afraid to think outside the box. There's a lot of great jobs out there that you can do.